Professor Kenny, welcome and thoughts on Greenland and NATO.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking to our community about this, and I was just like, Trump's rhetoric, everybody gets all, it's amazing how he just loves to play with the left with his rhetoric, and he gets them all twisted. And then he comes in with a speech like this, which is more measured, and it goes back to his gut, which is about making a deal, right? He's all about making deals, this guy. So, people that suffer through Trump, the people that don't like Trump, still have a problem swimming through his rhetoric and getting to the core of what what he's about in terms of getting something done. So we'll see. We'll see if he's able to walk away from this with a deal. And Haim is 1,000,000% right. If he walks away without a deal, the rhetoric is going to change back to that aggressive, bloviating, we're going to invade and all of this stuff. And it's just going to, that's the way Trump rolls. And I just find it funny that people still can't adjust to that after, the guy was president for 4 years and then now he's in another year. We should know Trump by now. That's really my comment about that.
Okay, thank you. Haima and then Hogan.
Yeah. Look, Professor Kenny, good to see you. And I completely agree with you. Anytime I go on TV media, and I've been on with Hogan a lot, I always say this. Donald Trump has told us exactly who he is, and we've got to start believing him at some point. And I think, to your point, everything he says is not hyper specific, and it shouldn't be taken hyper specifically. But he does give you his themes. He's pretty honest in the way he wants to portray himself and his leadership, particularly on the international stage. So I think you're right. I personally don't agree with that style of leadership. I just don't enjoy that. That's just my personal opinion. Because I'm a pretty straightforward guy who's pretty much a political nerd and just want to talk about the facts and not, sort of be all over the board with this sort of harsh language. But I think you're right. We know who he is, and we should. And I think Democrats and liberals in particular have got to stop taking the bait and have got to just give it a beat and let it play out for a day or two before they respond to something Donald Trump says. I think that's very astute.
Yep. Thanks, Simon. That's great.
Hogan.
Okay, Professor, I think you're correct here in the ebbs and flows of this. I still can't wrap my head around it, but I do often laugh at how everyone falls all over themselves when Donald Trump speaks. And Haim is right. Listen to politicians when they tell you who they are. You lose the electorate. You lose elections when you shock the public. Okay, and I'll just run through. Everyone knows who Donald Trump is. Okay. So it's not surprising when he does this type of stuff. It shouldn't be. Everyone knew Clinton was a dirtbag. So when things come out, they're like, oh, it's fine. The economy's good. It's Bill Clinton. Zoran Mondami's telling you what he's going to do socialism-wise and whatever in New York. So when he does it, you should not be surprised. Pay attention to what these politicians say. But that also kind of goes back to the overreaction for whatever reason with someone like Donald Trump's rhetoric, as opposed to politicians of the past, which have had horrible things to say about each other and their opponents and all these types of crazy things over the years. It's not really anything new, per se. They just try to pretend as though this is the first time we've ever heard these horrible things. But as typical with the right, I would say, the infighting on the right and the left is always kind of epic, and some of the most fun rhetorical flourishes and battles happen. I do think there's kind of a pattern here where George W. Bush was Hitler. George W. Bush is the worst president ever. He's a fascist. And then it was kind of like, wait a minute, I'll tell you who's worse than that. It's Romney. Romney's the really bad guy. Trump gets elected. He's the worst guy. Romney's the good Republican. And then all of a sudden you hear them even talking about J.D. Vance is the real threat. That's the real guy because he's smart and has this affable nature. These types of things are just what politicians do. They find ways to communicate. And if you can win the messaging war, a lot of times you win elections. And so I don't want to get too high here. I'm trying to focus on what we're talking about here, but understand just the fact that people freak out every time this guy opens his mouth. I mean, it gets a little boring, quite frankly, and tiresome.
Professor,
I will say that I have been a little disappointed in this particular speech. I mean, he's mentioned former President Biden like 4 times. He's mentioned the 2020 election. I mean, that was 2 elections ago. Like, let's just get over 2020. I'm over it. I don't want to go back to it. Nobody does. Let's stop talking about it. But the fact that he's doing this on an international stage, it does show that he does have some internal competing priorities, and grievances is one of them.
They say that something that's easy is like a walk in the park. Well, easier than a walk in the park, hit the subscribe button, be part of the two-way community, never miss an episode, be part of our conversations. Thank you for your service to America.
And don't forget, you can now listen to the morning meeting and Two-Way Tonight on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.